Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome to an episode of An Anthropologist Watches Jordan Underwood. And I haven't done anything with Jordan in a while because Jordan stopped posting on YouTube. I was enjoying the Lump Legs saga, and we don't get it anymore, which makes me sad. Yeah, we made it to like episode 5 of Lump Legs, and then Jordan stopped uploading anything, and I forget when episode 5 went live, like a month ago. So in over a month now, we haven't heard anything from Jordan. And I was just curious if that's because of the treatment that Jordan got into. And I'm going to do my damnedest to use proper pronouns when I know I'm going to slip up. And I apologize ahead of time, but we're going to stay focused. So out of morbid curiosity, I decided to go check out Jordan's TikTok. And sure enough, they've been posting to TikTok. They just haven't been posting to YouTube. Jordan built their following on TikTok, so it's not surprising that that's where they choose to continue to post. So there's that. There is some stuff on here from Jordan about the lipedema treatments, and I kind of want to go over those, and that's about it. I'm not going to go over the rest of Jordan's stuff because Jordan just likes to complain a lot and blame the world for their issues when it's clearly their own problem. They also like to get really nasty with people for pointing out obvious things. That being said, I wish Jordan the best. I hate fat acceptance. So there's that. I really was kind of interested to see if A, Jordan has lost any actual weight, and B, how Jordan is going to navigate that, because Jordan is so ingrained into fat acceptance to the point where any form of weight loss in fat acceptance community circles is seen as a threat to the community as a whole. And so I just kind of wondered what it would be like for one of the top fat acceptance basically like leaders, which Jordan arguably is one of, not the only one though. What would happen when one of those people started to lose weight, even for health reasons, which is frowned on. Like, I guess in fat acceptance, you're just supposed to be fat until you're dead, and you're not allowed to do anything about it, because to do otherwise would be anti-fat. God forbid you be pro-health. So I'm just going to click on a few and we're going to go through them, because I know there's a couple that I do actually want to address. Before we get into this, I am an anthropologist by training and an archaeologist that is retired. Those are my credentials. I'm very upfront about that. Everything I know about lipedema, I've looked up on the internet, or Jordan has told me directly. So everything I know is from one of those sources. I don't have it. I don't want it. The only other person I know who has it is Amberlyn Reed, who I also make videos of. So there's that. All right. That's enough of that. To my followers, to my subscribers, thank you for subscribing. To my members, thank you for being members. And to everybody who's going to hit the thumbs up button, thank you for that too. But that being said, let's start perusing this TikTok world and put together our own Lump Legs episode 6, shall we? This body is powerful. It is loved. One of the things I've noticed with the fat acceptance movement, especially when they start to get sick, is that it's always like an accomplishment for them, especially if they start to get better without losing weight or whatever. They're like, oh, my body is so strong and so powerful, and I love my body. And it's like, if your body was so strong and so powerful, why are you sick? Why are you sick with something that was preventable? I guess is what I should say. Some people get sick and it's not their fault. They just unfortunately got the wrong end of the stick. And if you loved yourself, why did you love yourself to this point? The lipedema, there's an argument that can be made that yes, even skinny people get lipedema, and like, since it's lipedema, that's like stage 4. I mean, I suppose law of averages, there's skinny people who have that as well, but everything I've read in the literature is very clear that this particular is it a disease? It's not really a disease because there's no real cure for it, I guess. I don't know. But this particular disorder is predominantly associated with obesity. It's not a cause and effect thing, but it's kind of a cause and effect thing. Kind of, sort of. That situation. The wraps are interesting. And there's another video that we're going to look at where Jordan shows you exactly how the wraps go on and kind of explains a little bit more about the compression therapy. And then there's a bunch of visions that I haven't seen yet. So I just always find it interesting that for fat acceptance people, they're morbidly obese, incredibly unhealthy bodies are loved and they don't want to change and they're healing and getting better. And it's like, but you're not. I mean, that is like deep denial, in my opinion. Here we go. I'm just going to pause it because I didn't realize how long this clip was. I forget that the clips could be super long now. Okay, so up to this point, Jordan's shown us the various layers of wraps that go into wrapping their leg. And they're only wrapping their lower leg. And I don't remember if it's this one or another one that they explain, like they're only doing their lower leg right now. And that eventually they'll be wrapping their upper leg as well. And it's basically like a reverse straw. You're like pushing the fluid back up through the straw. Because that's basically what the lipedema is. It's just the fluid is just getting stuck down in the legs. And I'm sure it is very painful. I don't know if this music's copyright, and I don't really know if I care. So we'll find out when I upload this picture or when I upload this video and they hit me with copyright. So anyway, Jordan is talking about how they have to re-roll the bandages. It's good that these are reusable because that was a concern of mine. Not that I'm going to be like, no, you shouldn't do it because you have to throw the wraps away. If you have to throw the wraps away, you have to do it. That's like what medical stuff is for. It's just like, that's got to be a pain in the ass because Jordan at some point also mentioned that this stuff's not cheap. So, I mean, if it's something that you would have to throw away and then get more of every time, that would be very expensive, I guess is my point. But since it's reusable, you at least get several uses out of it before I guess you have to get rid of it. I don't know. Oh yeah, this was the thing. So Jordan can only have their legs out of the wraps for 1 hour of every day. And during that hour, they have to be in the water to do it. I don't know how much of this is definite and how much of this is just Jordan being slightly hyperbolic because Jordan is very hyperbolic. Jordan likes to blow everything out of proportion. So maybe it's not really like this, but if it is, that's going to be really uncomfortable because all of those wraps, like the whole point is it's like a corset for your leg, you know, the whole point is to squish everything up. So it's got to be kind of uncomfortable. And I imagine it makes mobility kind of interesting too, because like your muscles are wrapped so tight. I don't know if they could like contract well enough to like let you take a full step, but Jordan's already complained that their mobility has been significantly impacted by the lipedema, so it's arguable that they can't take a full step anyway because of the lipedema. So I don't know, maybe they don't even notice the difference. Whee! Oh, okay. So here it is in this video. Jordan mentions that the supplies have to be repurchased every few months because the elasticity wears out on them. I'm on Medicare. I don't know why it wouldn't cover a medically required device like this, something that I would think is not like controversial. It's a wrap. You use it for a multitude of things, not just for lipedema. So I don't know. I would like to know why it doesn't cover it. So, or maybe that's just like a New York thing. Jordan's in New York. Or are they in Boston? I don't know where they are. The last episode, they were going to what they were calling Fat Camp, and I believe it was in Boston. So are they still there, or did they come back to New York? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. See, and Susan's in New York. That much I do remember. So they must be back in New York. It's interesting that their toes have to be wrapped individually. Like their whole lower limb has to be wrapped individually. That's gotta be uncomfortable. Okay, so I thought this was a really interesting video just because of the whole process, the step-by-step process of it, and I appreciate that. And I wish Jordan would make a YouTube video out of this because, honestly, aside from Jordan whining and blowing everything out of proportion, Jordan's still doing the thing that Jordan needs to do to get better. As far as I'm aware, like I haven't seen the I Quit video. I don't even know if there is one, but I haven't seen one. So as far as I know, Jordan's still doing the thing, which I find impressive. I really do, considering how anti everything they are. They're anti everything about lipedema treatment, but they're still doing the lipedema treatment. So yay, good for them. But okay, so that was the last one that I've watched prior. So let's see what the rest of them look like. Susan does seem kind of nice. I don't know. Okay, so Jordan also provided like two prequel episodes, episode 0 and episode 00. And this is where I go, Jordan's kind of hyperbolic. Jordan does not believe that their weight is their fault. They truly believe that their entire body is basically lipedema. Like all of the weight that Jordan has on their body is because of lipedema, which is patently not true. And to say that if they had gotten diagnosed 13 years ago when their symptoms first started presenting, if you go back and watch the videos that Jordan made, there was no reason for them to think from their own admission, there was no reason for them to think 13 years ago that they were having lipedema symptoms at all. Like Jordan's story changes subtly every time Jordan tells the story, but usually it changes in the direction of the medical community is a bunch of idiots and they wouldn't listen to me and I know everything and I knew way back in the day before I even knew what the word lipedema meant that I had lipedema kind of a thing. So that's kind of where I get irritated with Jordan on that one. I don't know about the surgery. Like, I've had a couple people in my comment section mention that they've also got lipedema, and I feel like surgery might be like the last kind of resort thing, or maybe it's like the last step in long-term treatment. But it's also my understanding like you don't get rid of lipedema, you just manage it. once you have it, once it starts to present. So on the one hand, I call bullshit on Jordan's, like, if 13 years ago I had been diagnosed. Well, I don't think you could have been diagnosed 13 years ago because I don't think your symptoms were presenting. Because the other thing with this particular disorder is, like, it doesn't start developing, according to the stuff I've read on the internet, it doesn't start developing until you hit, like, basically your reproductive years. And Jordan can't be that old. Jordan just doesn't seem like they're that old. Like, they're much younger than I am. So 13 years ago, they wouldn't have been in the reproductive years, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that being neither here nor there, I'm taking what Jordan says with a grain of salt here. Jordan loves to blame the medical community for everything. And Jordan loves to claim that the medical community discriminated against them because of their weight. Because every time Jordan went to the doctors were like, you need to lose some weight. Because you're obese, and the act of being obese is inherently unhealthy, so lose some weight. Jordan just wanted to go into the doctor and have them give them magical pills and completely ignore the fact that the underlying cause of all of their issues is their obesity. They just want to be fat and have none of the repercussions thereof. Fine. You can be fat all you want. You can be obese all you want. But that in and of itself, is a medical condition. One that you have control over. Jordan doesn't believe that.
Gained 150 pounds. The assumption is that I'm neglecting my health, and that is the reason why the symptoms are presenting.
That's a pretty good assumption to make, though. You don't get this big by managing your health. I'm sorry, you just don't.
And even when I tell the doctors, I'm doing XYZ, I'm exercising this much, I'm eating this, and I'm still gaining this weight, I'm still experiencing this swelling of the legs, like, what is going on? They still make the assumptions and do not listen to what...
They're not making assumptions. They're making educated guesses, and they can tell by how you look that you're not doing the things you claim you're doing. Or you're not doing them as frequently as you say you are. Doctors aren't idiots, okay? They also don't have time for bullshit. At least none of my doctors do. Not that I've tested them. But the fact that everyone in fat acceptance thinks that their doctors are just judging them because they're fat. I mean, maybe they are, but at the end of the day, you're still fat. You're still obese. It's still the cause of a lot of your problems. And if you were to lose the weight, a lot of those problems would go away. As far as I understand the lipedema, once you got it, you got it. There's no getting rid of it. So, that one you're kind of screwed with. But, knee pain, joint pain, back pain, any of that kind of stuff, the impacts on your joints, and just being able to breathe, being able to get up and sit down comfortably, being able to walk up and down stairs, being able to walk for long distances, in general, just being able to exist without pain. All of that can be managed by losing weight. If you are already obese, if you're having those problems and you're within a healthy weight range, then there's a problem. And there might be a problem when you're obese too. But the problem with obesity is so many of the symptoms that can point to other things are usually also caused by obesity. I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand. Anyway, let's keep going.
What I'm saying. It doesn't raise the flags for them that it would raise if I were a thin person presenting with these symptoms.
And I just explained to you why that's true.
And because of that, they choose not to dig deeper or give a diagnosis that...
I highly doubt they chose not to dig deeper. I bet they offered a variety of tests and or solutions, and Jordan didn't like any of those answers because all of them firstly addressed their obesity And again, Jordan does not believe that being obese is inherently unhealthy.
That could mean that I could get the treatment that I need or needed at the time so that it wouldn't have progressed to the point we're at now. Had I gotten a diagnosis 2 years ago, I could have started this treatment 2 years ago and would not have ended here where I am right now. And to be
honest, is that implying that they're at the fat camp? I really kind of wanted them to stay there, and I really wanted to see some footage of the place. I just wanted to see what the place was like because I was genuinely curious.
Honest, I'm only here where I am now because of the privileges that I have. I have the privilege to continue going back to the doctor, to have seen the 20 doctors that I did over the past 2 years, right?
Have they really seen 20 doctors? Is that not a red flag? 20 doctors in 2 years. That's like a new doctor every month. How is that not doctor shopping? I get maybe one of the doctors recommended you to go to other doctors. That would be a different statement, but wow.
My privileges have allowed me to learn how to trust myself, my body, whatever, to know that something was actually wrong and I did need to keep going back until I got a diagnosis. My privilege allows me the time and money to do that. And my privilege allows me the time and money to get the treatment that I'm getting.
Okay, I don't care. I'm glad that you're admitting that you have privilege, but that's not solving the problem. It's also not admitting to the problem.
Right now, which most people do not have. Had I been diagnosed 2 years ago, I wouldn't have needed to pursue a surgical option, but because it took so long, now I do. When the reality is that the disorder that I have could have been diagnosed as young as 13, but lipid.
Not if you weren't presenting. Can you genetically test for lipedema? I don't think you can. And also, I don't think it doesn't start presenting that young, according to the internet. I will continue to say that.
Lipedema is so under-researched. The standard of care for lipedema was only written 2 years ago, even though...
So then how could you... Okay, anyway. Contradictions aside.
1 in 10 AFAB people is said to have it. And it presents in people of all sizes. This is...
AFAB? Oh.
It's not a disorder that is, like, caused by fatness.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. It's... kind of is, yeah. And it's one of those luck of the draw kind of things. Like, it pretty much only affects women. So it's kind of like baldness, pretty much only affects men with the exception of, except for exceptions. So yeah, it's unfortunately one of those things that you get to look forward to with those XXX. But
I don't know how to break it to you because I don't want to crush your dreams of living in your fat-phobic bliss, but lipedema is diet and exercise resistant.
I don't think that's entirely true. Again, there's been people in my comments section, and I've seen people on, Instagram and YouTube who are diagnosed with lipedema, and they've all managed to lose weight through diet and exercise. Again, the lipedema doesn't go away, but it becomes more manageable, and it also slows, if not stops, the growth process of it, as I understand from the internet. So this is just another one of Jordan's refusing to take responsibility for what they've done to themselves situations, because again, Jordan doesn't want to believe that obesity is bad for you when, like, the evidence of it is literally staring you in your camera's face.
This is a very common misconception about lipedema and is only brought up when people are intending to be fat phobic. So let's actually dig into why you're wrong. In the earlier stages of lipedema, you are correct. It primarily impacts the legs and sometimes the arms. But once you get into the later...
What is it? FAV. And torso. Fab? I'm old. I don't know the slang. Anyway, this is an interesting thing. It's important that I point out I'm very skeptical this is the same person going through all progressive stages here, just because this person doesn't look anything like this person. This person's clearly skinnier than everyone else here, with stage 2, no less. And then with the stage 3 to stage 4, like this strange, I'm sorry, it looks strange. I don't know how to, this particular growth here is not here anymore. And I feel like that would have translated over. Like there would at least still be like evidence of that in the hip area here. So also just not to be weird, but boob placement is completely different across all 4 stages. So this is not one person progressing through all 4 stages. This is 4 separate people at each stage. I don't know why I feel like I need to explain that, but I do.
Later stages like stage 4, which is what I have, it can also impact the fupa, the lower abdomen, and
Is fupa a medical term? It's not a medical term, but the word for it is kind of weird, so I guess we'll just go with fupa. I just can't imagine saying that in an actual professional setting. 88% of people who have lipedema tissue in their abdomen. But that's only after you get to stage 4. And what is this asterisk? You can't see the asterisk part. Anyway.
Even breast tissue. It's brought up in this way to fat shame people who are fat and have lipedema. The thing is, I don't care why I'm fat, and neither should you. Of course I'm fat and I have lipedema. It doesn't really matter the reason why I'm fat because I'm still fat, right?
I mean, I guess, but since you refuse to take responsibility for it, then that is kind of an issue, because if you're not going to take responsibility for it and change the habits that led to the underlying issue of the lipedema, because you're here right now blaming lipedema for being fat, I mean, I don't know. It's things like this. Like, even if you're getting the treatment, is it going to work merely because it's not a one-stop thing? Like, you're never done treating it. It's a permanent disorder that you now get to live with. So what happens when you get tired of doing the treatments? If you haven't made the lifestyle shift that is necessary to, mitigate the problem by admitting that you're overweight because of your lifestyle habits and your own habits, then like when you stop doing the treatments for the lipedema, it's just going to come back and or get worse. It's never going to get better because you're never going to take the steps that are necessary to make it better. You guys understand what I'm saying?
The lipedema and lymphedema labels do not exist to excuse my fatness. They exist.
But you're totally using them as an excuse for your fatness, so
that I can get the medical care I need. My lipolymphedema may be a cause of some of my fatness. Obviously it is. But my fatness does not need an excuse. Nobody's fatness needs to be excused by a medical condition. It should not matter why a person is...
Okay, but you're literally using a medical condition to excuse your fatness. Like, you are doing that. You're sitting here saying you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't be doing that, and yet you are doing it. So what is the point you're trying to make here?
Fat. Because fat people, regardless of why they are fat, deserve rights, health care, safety.
These are not arguments that anyone is making except you. These are the words coming out of your mouth, no one else's. This is fat acceptance rhetoric, BS. Continue.
Access, all these things. And if you think that me being fat is okay because I have lipedema, you're part of the problem. Because
so even if you support Jordan and you agree with them that they're fat because of their lipedema, you're still wrong. And if you don't support Jordan and you don't think they're fat because of their lipedema, you're still wrong. So you can't win. So why are you bothering? Just don't try. That's the lesson here. Just don't bother.
It was always okay that I was fat. What's not okay is
it's
your
really
ongoing abuse of fat people. Hope that helps.
As far as like the ongoing abuse of fat people, you're if you walk up to a random fat person that you see on the street and you just start being abusive towards them, you're kind of a dick. On the internet, if you put yourself out there, you have to expect this shit, especially on something like TikTok, where it's just a bunch of like horny 12-year-olds who got nothing better to do with their lives. I don't know why you're expecting sympathy from TikTok. I don't know why you're expecting sympathy from anyone. Because at the same time, you know, your fatness, you don't owe anybody your health, or you don't owe anybody thinness, or whatever your argument is today. Nobody owes you sympathy. Nobody owes you anything. So as much as you don't owe me anything, I don't owe you anything either. So
I'm Jordan. I have stage 4 lipedema, and today I want to talk to you about leg weeping. When your lipedema reaches stage 4, what that means is that the lymphatic system has been overloaded. Your body starts filling up with lymph fluid because the lymphatic system stops working and processing out the lymph fluid as it collects. As the lymph fluid pools up in the body, pressure really increases, especially around the ankles and in the limbs. And what that means is that it's going to start looking for ways to escape the body.
Oh my God, I know what she's getting. I know what he's getting ready to say. Oof. I'm rubbing my legs just thinking about it. I've had family members who have had, it wasn't lipedema, it was something else, but it caused their legs to swell a lot. And yeah, it was very painful for everyone involved.
And two of the ways that happens are with lymphatic blisters and with leg weeping. And those two things are exactly what they sound like.
Horrible. They're both horrible. I'm so sorry. That just, wow. Wow, you have so much sympathy for me right now.
So lymphatic blisters are just a collection of lymph fluid that blisters at the skin. Lymphatic blisters should really be left alone. Don't touch them. Really, really do not pop them, because that will put you at a really high risk for infection. I have had them before and they do go away on their own. So just please be patient. And leg weeping occurs when there is a cut or some sort of opening in the skin and you literally just start leaking lymph fluid.
What is lymph fluid exactly? Like, because it was my grandmother, and when her leg would weep, it just looked like water. So I didn't have to take care of it. I was still young enough. But it just looked like water was dripping out of their leg. And now I'm just calling everybody a they. So whatever. Wow. I didn't know about the blister thing though. This is a rough video.
If you are having leg weeping, it's really, really important to keep those areas clean. Use some sort of like Bactine, alcohol wipe, and like Neosporin, and make sure that there's no contamination, anything of that area.
Pro tip on that. Jordan's not wrong. However, and I know this from experience, if you don't let the leg breathe on occasion, it will actually prolong the infection and can potentially make the skin condition even worse. And I know this because of my grandmother. We were doing that. We were putting the Bactine on and keeping her leg wrapped because that's what we were told to do. And her skin actually started to, well, I don't have a better way to put this. Her skin started to kind of rot. And when we told the doctors about it, they were like, okay, well, you have to let the skin breathe every once in a while. So there, throughout the days, we would have to we only started wrapping it at like night and that kind of stuff. So that the skin could breathe and basically heal. So just, pro tip, Jordan's not wrong, but ask your doctor.
Area. That really is a sign that you should reach out to both a vascular surgeon and a lymphatic therapist, or a CLT. Those are the people who can help get you treatment. A CLT is the person who would do both manual lymphatic drainage, massage, and complete decongestive therapy, which is the treatment for lymphedema. The first time this happened to me, I was really, really confused. I stood up and there was a pool at my foot, And I was like, did I pee myself? What is happening? Several months after that, when I finally got diagnosed, I learned that that was called leg weeping. Leg weeping is actually incredibly dangerous because when you have lymphedema, you're at increased risk for cellulitis. And when you get cellulitis, you can actually die from an infection because your lymphatic system isn't working.
Okay, so I stand corrected. Apparently you can die from lipedema complications. Like, not directly, but kind of directly. How are you not terrified? This would terrify me.
Working, and your lymphatic system is what works to carry away and clean any infection out of your system. Clean that lymph fluid before it gets reabsorbed and goes back into the blood system and goes through the heart and the rest of your organs, and then any excess gets peed out. Hi, I'm Jordan.
Well, I learned something today. All right, next. But are you still at the treatment center, or are you just getting treatment from Susan, who is a physical therapist, or a massage therapist, from what I understand?
How do you tell the difference between fat, fluid, and lipedema tissue? I get asked this question all the time, and the answer is texture.
I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's just the shirt, but Jordan's losing weight. And you can see it in their face. And it looks good on them. But there's a definite change in body composition here, which I'm sure is not what they want to hear. But I see a difference physically in this Jordan versus Jordan from the past.
Or at least one of the answers is texture. Fat tissue is regular adipose tissue that everyone gets on their body. Lipedema is disordered fat tissue caused by a genetic connective tissue disorder. Lymphedema is fluid retention caused by the failing of the lymphatic system. Stage 4 lipedema, which is what I have, is lipedema that has overloaded the lymphatic system to cause lymphedema on top of the lipedema. Lymphedema typically occurs only in one limb, whereas if you have lipedema and that progresses to lymphedema, you're going to have it evenly on both sides of the body. Fat, fluid, and
I'm not going to lie, I would not have heard a difference in either of those words if I hadn't been reading it. So that's interesting, though, that, like, there's a different term for getting it on just one limb versus having it on both limbs. I mean, it makes sense, but it is kind of interesting to me. Everything's interesting to me.
Lipedema tissue all feel differently under the skin. Fluid retention is what we refer to as lymphedema, or in more mild cases, bloat.
Okay, but you're not really explaining what the differences are. You're just repeating yourself over and over.
When lymphedema occurs, it typically means that the lymphatic system is overloaded and it has stopped doing its job. What typically occurs with this is this thing called pitting edema. So if you push down on the skin, wherever you're having this water retention or fluid retention, if you push down hard and then lift up your finger, there will still be an indent where you were pushing down.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Non-pitting, it says putting. I think she meant pitting. I think he meant pitting edema can also occur. I have both. Pitting is the easiest way to tell the difference. However, skin tauntness, skin changes, color, texture, etc. can also signify edema. I'm very well hydrated.
That is what we refer to as pitting. This can happen really anywhere on the body. For me, obviously, most of my fluid retention is on the lower half of my body. So I've had pitting edema in my feet, ankles, thighs, and abdomen. The top of the foot is a really good place to kind of like check for this kind of pitting edema. If it is appearing on the stomach, it's going to be in kind of like a band shape towards the bottom of your stomach. Unlike pitting edema with fat, if you press down, it will rebound. Fat molecules are very, very small, which allows them to like rebound and give you that nice squish. Lipedema molecules, on the other hand, are very, very large, and they are much harder than...
Am I one of the few people that doesn't like the fat squish? I don't like it. I don't like how it feels. I don't like it when people do it to me. People, by that I mean obviously my partner. That kind of stuff. I don't like it. What is this? I can't read this. It's too small. Sorry.
And fat tissue. Under the skin, this can feel like either the texture of like rice or peas or walnuts. This causes the appearance of like bulging areas on both the...
You see these illustrations and you're like, man, that's just kind of rude as how over exaggerated they get, but they really aren't exaggerating though.
The arms and the legs, or really anywhere that you can have lipedema, which is on the entire body. If anyone tells you that lipedema only occurs in the arms and legs, that person has outdated information. That being said, the primary way that you can differentiate between fat and lipedema tissue is where the tissue is accumulating. Typical adipose tissue is not going to give you cuffing around the knees and the ankles, or the wrists, or the elbows.
How does this look uncomfortable? I'm solid. Okay, good. You have no idea how paranoid this stuff makes me.
So it really is a combination of feeling under the skin, feeling that texture, and then also your shape. How do you tell the difference?
Okay. We're going to wrap up here just because I don't want this to get too long, but I am seeing visual progress in Jordan as far as weight loss, and the clip with them in the pool and they were doing somersaults in the water. Remember, they're only doing this on their calves for the moment. Their lower their calves looked more like calves as opposed to in other pictures pre-treatment Jordan has shown where their leg just kind of looks like a cylinder going all the way down to their ankle. So I'm seeing visual progress, and I'm hoping, I mean, Jordan hasn't said it's not working, so I'm going to guess that it is progressing in a satisfactory way for Jordan. It doesn't sound like anything catastrophic has happened. We're not having any like meltdowns or breakdowns or anything, so that's good. And I still don't know if they're in the treatment center anymore or if they've gone home. I'm going to make a call here. Jordan's from New York, and the area that Jordan was showing us in the YouTube videos driving around was very city. That's the word I'm looking. Very cityscapey, very lots of tall buildings, no greenery whatsoever, kind of a thing. And recently in these last few TikToks that we've looked at, there's been a lot of trees. There's been some greenery. They went to the botanical garden, which is an anomaly as far as green space, but there seems to be more green space around them. So I'm going to guess maybe they are at the treatment center. And I'm going to guess the treatment center is not terribly far from home, because I was under the impression that Susan, the CPT, is in New York, but I could be wrong. Either way, it really doesn't matter. Jordan does seem to be improving. That's great. I would like for them to get out of the fat acceptance rhetoric stuff and maybe take some onus of like their physical health, but it's kind of being forced on them and they're kind of rolling with it. So maybe in the end, this will all turn out great. But Jordan does seem to be responding well to treatment and does seem to be going forward with the treatment. There are more TikToks past this, but we're going to stop here for now. That being said, if you have made it this far in the video, down in the comments section, leave a flower for the botanical gardens. Leave a flower or a tree. And Also, feel free to leave comments, keep them civil. Jordan does use they, them, he, him pronouns, so please use those. Please don't be buttheads about it. And yeah, but by all means, leave comments, be civil. And and don't forget, if you've made it this far, to click the like button, because you've made it this far, you might as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to subscribe. I will be putting more Jordan Underwood stuff out because I like Jordan. I think they're an interesting person to watch. I don't think Jordan and I could be friends, but I do enjoy watching Jordan's progress. Do I like Jordan's fat acceptance and health at every size rhetoric? No, and I'm going to continue to call that crap out because no. But Jordan's interesting to me, and we're going to keep watching. Anyway, I will see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and bye!